Inside Utah Politics.
Time now for a closer look at some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have State Representatives Melissa Ballard and Andrew Stoddard. Great to have both of you on the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Glenn.
Let's go ahead and start with loan forgiveness, student loan forgiveness. This announcement happening a couple weeks ago, but still a big talker remaining in the spotlight. Representative Ballard, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the president's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student debt.
This is the Democrats' ploy again to go down the road of socialism. Why should states like Utah, who have the fourth lowest cost of higher education in the entire nation, pay for everyone else to get a loan forgiveness? And it's just not appropriate. It's not right. We don't need to do that. There's other means. In fact, the Utah system of higher education is moving away from student loans, even though they, by nature, have lower interest rates. We are moving away from student loans and into more grants and scholarships. It's a much better policy. It's much more effective to help keep people out of debt. But where will the Democrats stop? Are they going to now look for people who have mortgages and utilities that they can't meet? I don't know how you could pick and choose winners and losers at a time when they're just trying to get points for the upcoming election for a policy that just doesn't work. And they justify it by saying we're going to increase the credit limit to pay for it. It's not what we as Utahns want.
Representative Stoddard, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's enough. Obviously, I like what it did. I appreciate the effect that it's having on targeted borrowers, but I think we need to work to address the root cause of this. Why is higher education so expensive? As someone who carried student loans for a number of years, you know, I paid them off, but I'm happy that people are receiving that benefit. You know, government shouldn't, but it does pick winners and losers. You look at the PPP program, you know, you look at the bank bailouts. This is nothing that's new. We're helping people who are in debt, who are really struggling, and it's going to the people who need it most. And I'm proud of President Biden for what he did.
Let's dig into the core of what you just said there a little bit more, and that is the overall cost of a college education, not only here in the state of Utah, but across the country. Possibly aging myself a little bit here, but when I went to the U, it was $1,700 per semester. Now it's upwards of $4,000. What do we need to do to address that? And you kind of alluded to this already, Representative, but make it more affordable so that people can obtain that goal.
That's really important. And being the vice chair of the Higher Ed Appropriations, there's been a lot of work done within our systems to say, how can we help 8th graders? And before they graduate from high school, really have the pathway. Are they going to a technical college and getting welding or plumbing, or are they wanting to go to higher ed and really have internships and opportunities while they're in high school? And we even have a program that while they're in high school, they can get high school credit and go to the technical college and get their MA certificate, and they get free tuition while they're in high school. We are doing a lot in Utah to help workforce alignment and to provide those opportunities to reduce debt. We are focusing less on AP tests and more on concurrent enrollment and articulation across institutions for students who take those CE credits, being able to take them to various institutions. So Utah is really leading the way. I've been to multiple conferences where they say, how do you do this in Utah? And we really are forward thinking and planning to keep our proud fourth lowest in the nation. Of course, if you go to the research institutions as the University of Utah and Utah State, they will be more. But there are still, again, more opportunities for grants, for scholarships that we're really pushing for instead of student loans.
Representative Stoddard, you brought this up in your first comments as well, the skyrocketing cost. What can be done to make that more obtainable?
You know, I'm not sure on the solution, but I think something needs to be done as someone who graduated with over 6 figures in debt, and to go work at a job at a nonprofit where I had made less than I did as a painter during college. You know, we need to do something that targets those people who go work in underrepresented fields, and I think that's what was done here. The people who had the most debt, who came from the hardest upbringing, the hardest situations, are the ones who are getting the forgiveness, and I appreciate that.
There's been a lot of talk also lately about maybe shifting away from the mentality that everyone needs a college degree and focusing on more of a technical training, which was brought up here as well, or a skill. Should more people start to take a look at that as well? Representative Ballard.
Absolutely. We need painters, we need plumbers, we need welders, we need electricians. The unemployment is so low in Utah that companies are begging for someone to come and do that work. They can leave school with very little debt, especially if they start in high school, and they can be their own business owners as they continue to work throughout our state. We need all kinds. So higher ed includes technical education now. Those boards have combined, and the purpose in being able to even stacking credentials of finishing certifications and being able to move on to associate's degrees or degrees along that pathway is really financially so much better for many of those professions, and we need students to start thinking about it at 8th grade. We even have Keys to Success program for adults as well as for students that can sign in and get internships and apprenticeships with businesses who want to pay for scholarships and help them get that education because they need them to come and work for them. So we have tremendous amount of people working together to make this successful for our Utah students.
Representative Stoddard, your thoughts on this push of late to say, you know what, maybe college isn't for everyone and there are other options in life?
I think it's great. You know, if a person wants to get a 4-year degree, if they want to go to a trade school or a tech school, that's great. You know, the hard thing is a lot of these kids don't know by 8th grade or even, you know, their 4th year of college what they want to do. So I think we're on the right path, but we've got more work to do.
All right, let's move on to another very interesting topic we saw play out during the week. A colleague of yours in the House, Representative Steve Handy, he's held that seat for several terms now, ousted at convention, launching a write-in campaign. Of course, we know that is an uphill battle anytime anyone tries to do that. I'm not even sure it's been successful in the history of the Utah legislature. Your thoughts on Representative Handy and his write-in campaign, Representative Ballard?
If Steve Handy wants to have a write-in campaign, he can do that. That's the great thing about American politics. But I'm going to share two things. One of them, what is it that Utah voters expect? And the second thing is what is actually happening? Utah voters expect to get their ballot in the mail, Google the candidates, and choose to vote for who aligns with their politics, with their values. But what is happening is 0.27% of your voting district is actually choosing who is on the ballot before it even gets to you. That's not very representative. Of your party, of a Republican or Democrat party, there's only 0.5% in the caucus conventions, 0.5% of the population that choose who is on your ballot to vote for. So in Steve Handy's case, he has 22,000 voters that are registered. More than half of them are Republicans. And of those Republicans, only 250 showed up at the caucus night, and of those 250, 96 showed up to caucus night as delegates, and only 59 chose Trevor Lee, who is the Republican candidate on the ballot. I don't think that's representative. We really need to rethink in our modern day, what is it that voters expect and how can we really fulfill the whole purpose of having elections here in Utah?
As we know, there was another option for him to get on the primary ballot as well. We'll dig into more on that in just a second, but I want to bring you in, Representative Stoddard. This idea of a write-in candidate, can it be successful?
You know, I wish him luck. It's a hard route, but as Representative Ballard stated, I think it just goes to show how the caucus convention system has failed us again and given us an extreme candidate as opposed to someone who is more moderate and more voters would approve of. And I think he's got a lot of work, but I know he works hard at the legislature, and I don't doubt he'll work hard on the campaign trail.
Okay, back to what I said before. He could have gathered signatures. Do you think he's regretting that decision at this point?
There is a dual path here in Utah. You can gather signatures or go to the convention. The signature path is interesting because it actually requires 9% approximately of your voters to be able to write for you to be on the ballot. That's a lot more than 0.27% or 0.5%. So people for the House of Representatives that are running need 1,000 signatures, and those for the Senate need 2,000. So that is a lot higher number of people saying, I want to see you on the ballot, but that also needs some adjustment. The numbers are high, and we also have different percentages across different districts that have higher levels of Republicans or Democrats. And we really want to make this representative of people saying, I want to see you on the ballot. So it's a discussion that we need to have and really see what it is that Utahns want in their candidates that they have on the ballot.
All right, Representative Stoddard, have about 20 seconds left. They are yours.
100% agree. We need to lower the threshold so that we can get more candidates on the ballots.
All right, very insightful conversation this morning. Appreciate both of you being here for that, and for all of you at home, stick around because we'll have more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.